Punk Revolution now. Today we are going to be reviewing Backxwash's newest album, I Lie Buried Here with My Rings and My Dresses. I'm very excited about this album because Backxwash, she really caught my attention last year with some great releases. She released her album, God Has Nothing to Do With It, Leave Him Out of This, another long album title, another cool album title, and also another really awesome EP last year as well, Stigmata EP. So Backxwash was really building up a lot of buzz last year, and she even freaking won the Polaris Music Prize, so that's exciting stuff. And here she is with her newest album, I Lie Here Buried with My Rings and My Dresses. Excited to see what she's doing next. She clearly has demonstrated herself to be a talented artist, so I am excited to see what goes on with this album. Let's start by taking a look at the album cover. This album cover looks like it's freaking Backxwash on the cover going, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, this album cover combined with the album title, I Lie Buried Here with My Rings and My Dresses, I mean, I just visualize she's like buried like 10 feet underground in a casket with her dresses and rings on. You can actually see I think she's got like a necklace there on the album cover, and she's just like, so I mean, I like that album cover. It's scary. It's scary. It's horrorcore. It's getting set in the mood. I think it looks cool too. So that's a cool album cover. In terms of the music, there is just so much creativity and so much talent and so many cool ideas coming through in this album. It's only 33 minutes long, but it's just packed with so many great things. I could talk about just the unique production, the fantastic rapping. There's so much. I want to start by talking about the production though, because I mean, Backxwash is really bringing a lot of interesting stuff to the table. If I wanted to compare the production to one album, I think the number one album that comes to mind is Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition, because that's just a really dark, but also really creative album that likes to kind of get a little bit adventurous with the sampling that it does, and it's also a pretty miserable album too. I think that actually perfectly describes Backxwash's album as well. So number one comparison would be Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition, but I also do get some vibes from like Kanye West's Yeezus, and maybe my brain is subconsciously making that connection because they're both industrial hip hop albums with some religious themes in there, but I think that's actually an authentic comparison. And of course you can make a comparison to Clipping, another industrial hip hop horrorcore artist. Those are great comparisons, but I think it would be an injustice to just name drop some other artists that kind of produce in similar genres and say that's what Backxwash is kind of doing. Because Backxwash is actually like bringing a lot of her own stuff to the table that gives this a really distinct sound. She's got so many creative samples. She brings a freaking Godspeed You Black Emperor sample at the end, at the last song. She's got a freaking Angela Davis sample, which is just fucking rocks. She's got this opening sample that's just like this repeated line about the purpose of pain, which I'm not gonna lie, when I listened to this album, I was pretty stoned, and that sample legitimately like fucking terrified me. I don't know why, but you know, I've listened to it obviously sober too, and it still scares me. She's got this one track, 666 in Luxaxa, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which is so awesome because it uses this like African chant as like the backbeat, as like the sample that makes the foundation of the song, and this African chant is like, you know, repeating in the background, and Backxwash is rapping on top of it, and it just sounds so intense and so dissonant. And throughout this whole, it's only like a 2.5 minute song, and through like the first 2 minutes, Backxwash is just, she's killing it. That sample is repeating, and then all of a sudden the ending of that track, the sample keeps playing this African chant, and then all of a sudden a big choir of like a bunch of people chanting comes in, and this chant actually sounds very like glorious. It's like, sounds like it's probably like in a major key. It sounds like euphoric. And the fact that she does this, like uses this sample that sounds so dissonant the entire time, and then at the end kind of reveals what the sample sounds like in the context of the rest of the music that it's from, and it sounds like so like happy and glorious. I mean, not only is that a brilliant sample choice, it also just musically is extremely interesting to have it, you know, this tense, and then like euphoria. It's freaking brilliant. So clearly this album is just packed with a lot of creative samples and production choices, and I love that, but actually, you know, when you bring it all together and put it all together, at the end of the day, you have an album with production that's it's fucking hard as fuck. It's fucking dissonant as fuck. This album goes fucking hard. Don't let these kind of, you know, sometimes nerdy samples fool you. Backxwash is here to, she's got some intense stuff to say. Which brings me to my favorite aspect of this album, which is the lyrics, because as much much as I love the production, like the lyrics here, Backxwash is just on a whole nother level. Let's talk about horrorcore for a bit. So horrorcore, it's a genre that's going to be incorporating a lot of violence, but you know, for most horrorcore I've listened to, it's like, you know, pretty fun and entertaining in the same way that watching a horror film is. You know, you get with your friends and watch Saw, and you eat popcorn and have a good time watching someone get their leg cut off. That's you know, that's pretty similar with the genre of horrorcore. Backxwash's horrorcore, it hits a little bit different. Because yes, it's very violent, but it's not violent in a goofy haha, listen to the narrator talk about cutting someone's hand off way. It's violent in a way that gets really real. Because the violence that Backxwash is talking about this album is real violence that actually exists in this world right now. And in that sense, it's actually a pretty like political horrorcore album, because the violence is like kind of coming through in different ways in terms of racism, in terms of misogyny and trans misogyny, in terms of religion being a tool that's used to oppress people, in terms of mental illness and feeling suicidal. Like, you're gonna see actually a lot of the violence in this album, and I would say it's a very violent album. A lot of the violence is actually directed at Backxwash herself, both from these different political systems that I referenced, but also you can just see Backxwash is just lyrically, she's just flooding herself with drugs and self-hatred in order to just distract herself from this incredible amount of pain. There's some very vivid imagery here. Like I said, it gets really violent, lots of lyrics about suicide, very graphic, but it never comes off like dramatic self-pity or melodramatic cheesiness or anything like that. No, Backxwash, her lyrics are very poetic in a way that she is able to very creatively kind of tie all these themes together between being black and being trans and being traumatized as growing up a Christian and having, you know, these religious figures that are supposed to love her but also seem to hate her and betray her and never be there for her. It's so interesting. She never seems to like explicitly say fuck the Christian God. It seems like she kind of has like this kind of like little tango with, you know, sometimes she seems to feel like Jesus is gonna save her. Sometimes she feels like, no, she should go dance with the devil. It's really powerful, it's really creative, and I love how she incorporates the religious themes in her album, both with her relationship to religion, but also just like she'll use some very like religious, you know, Christian biblical imagery to kind of enhance some emotions here and there throughout the album too. It's really fucking dope. And I think one lyric that just sums it up so brilliantly are the opening lyrics to the song Terror Packet, because here she starts the song by describing her having to sell drugs in order to buy hormones. Not only does that sound like a miserable situation for Backxwash to be in personally, to me it's so interesting because it really ties it all back together. Going back to like 90s horrorcore and 90s hip hop, you can hear plenty of like gangster hip hop and horrorcore where there's plenty of selling drugs in order to survive. Well, you know, fast forward to 2021, she's continuing not only the musical legacy of hip hop, but she's also, you know, doing the same thing. She's selling drugs so she can survive too. It's so creative. It's political horrorcore. There should be more of that because there's plenty of fucking horror in this fucking society, and Backxwash fucking nails it. I mean, religion and the politics of race and the politics of gender and mental health and violence. These are really dark and intense and heavy topics that, you know, Backxwash, she's able to weave together very cohesively and very interestingly from start to finish, and she deserves a lot of credit for that, and it makes for a fantastic album. You combine that together with the fantastic and super creative production, the awesome features, and then this just fantastic vocal delivery. Like, she's so good at rhyming. There's like rhymes within rhymes, and it sounds freaking fantastic. You can tell she was going for perfection in this album, like really paid attention to every single detail and every single word. I mean, I'm so impressed with this. So when all is said and done, I'm giving this a 9.6 out of 10. Just a fantastic work of art. Great job, Backxwash. Honestly, seriously, I hope you're watching Backxwash. If you are, thanks so much for releasing this great music. Really inspirational, and also just exciting to see what you're gonna be doing next. So awesome. And also thanks everyone for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. It helps more people find my videos, etc. blah blah blah. Thanks so much, everybody. Punk revolution. Now, Backxwash, you are punk.